The first problem we want to look at is the one of being isolated on a pedestal. Pastors are often surrounded by people who elevate them as super Christians. That's no fun at all, because that means that you're being held to a weird and a higher standard than everybody else. Pastors sometimes gather unrealistic authority in an attempt to protect themselves from toxic people. In other words, we can dominate a church board, but in doing that, we're isolating ourselves. We can dominate a whole congregation. In doing that, we're isolating ourselves. One problem that we have is we just get so doggone busy that we only relate in a professional manner as preachers, as managers, as counselors, as people of authority. Again, this may feel good for our ego, but it isolates us. We got caught up in another professional manner in church meetings, board meetings, staff meetings, weddings, special occasions. You may be invited by the city to do something, civic and all that. Those are isolating things. But the real problem here is that we lack personal friendships. And, when I was in a Bible college, I was taught not to have personal friendships with anybody in the congregation. Now, I think there's actually a certain amount of wisdom in that, but I think it's kind of a stupid thing. You need to have friends. You need to have friends in the congregation. But I do think there's some wisdom in having friends that are outside the congregation, because these people aren't in a position to, harm you or interfere with what you're doing. You're able to talk a little bit more openly and freely with people like that, to think out loud and then not be held to some kind of judgment over it. And so as I look at solutions to isolation on the pedestal, first one is teach. Teach against the clergy laity split. As soon as you start to teach that, you're going to have to live that, and that's going to undermine the things that are isolating you. It's going to reinforce the things that are going to give you a healthy life with the people in your congregation. Become more transparent about your struggles. The more that you open up, the more that you confess the anger that you had in traffic or the bad words that you said, or whatever it is that you did, the more that you're kind of coming down off that pedestal. You're removing that higher standard that people want to put on you because you're the super Christian, all of that. Focus strong attention on vocabulary and process, especially as we're looking at the vocabulary and the process in Ephesians chapter 4, verses 10 to 13. Apostles, prophets, pastors, evangelists, teachers. As you think about it, we take this one word pastor and we make it super everything. And we kind of negate all the other stuff. Teach that these people have these gifts and that they're there to equip you're the leader, but they're there to help you lead and to help you equip the saints for doing the work of ministry. Build your church into a disciple-making continuum. The thing I'm always talking about, how do people come to Christ in a friendship relationship? How does they move into a friendship relationship? How do they then move into leadership and perhaps into church planting? But you need to be part of that disciple-making continuum. You can't isolate yourself from this. This is why if you're doing home groups, whatever you call them, micro churches, mini churches, connect groups, whatever you call it, you need to be leading one, and everybody on your staff needs to lead one. This immerses you into the life of the congregation, and it helps you to understand what the other leaders are going through. I've talked about this before, but develop friendships with people who are not in power positions in your congregation. Now, they may be people outside of your congregation. I love that. When I used to be in my car mode, when I was flipping cars and restoring classic cars and all that, I had really good friends at the paint shop, really good friends at an auto body shop that I would hang out with. It was just a good place for me to blow off some steam. When I got to Kaneohe, I bought this wretched Corvette, and it needed to be in the shop a lot. But then the guy in the shop, he was a guy in our church, but he was never in a power position. And it was a refuge for me. I'd just go down there and eat lunch sometimes, go get some at McDonald's and just go hang out with all those guys, because I just wanted to get away from all that junk that people put on me in the church.